This month I had one surprise and one big letdown. But that's just how it is. Sometimes you have a great month, sometimes you have a bad month, and sometimes you have a month that is a mix of both. So February was one of those for me. I'm still in my mafia era. I mean, I never left it, but I'm also beginning to read romantasy, a genre that wasn't my favorite, so let's see how that journey goes. Hi, I'm Juliana and welcome back to another video. Today I'm updating my favorite journal, that is my reading journal, with the books and Mangás/Manhwas I read during February. So we are starting with a cover spread for the month. I usually make a cover spread to separate my reads by month. It's not essential, but I like to do it, and also it's a fun way to use more of my stationery, because I have a lot of them, so I need to use it. For this theme, I decided to use the Year of the Horse sticker sheets and also the silicone stamps, washi tapes and die-cut stickers that came on the 2025 Advent calendar from Ikigai Papier. I can't link this down below because her shop is temporarily closed while she's moving, but I'll leave her website linked nonetheless because you might be seeing this in the future. So I didn't have an opportunity to do a Year of the Horse theme in my bullet journal or in my mom's bullet journal. I just had other themes in mind, so I decided to do it here in my reading journal. Heda, also known as Moshi Bujo here on YouTube, made this Year of the Horse theme kinda like a time of the day, like the sunset, the evening, the daytime, and each part of the day has a color palette. They all fit together because the colors blend into each other, but I knew that I wanted to use the die-cut sticker with the dark horse and the girl as the center of the collage, so I tried to use materials that fit that color palette. And also bring in some neutrals to balance things out, like the white doily and also these beigey papers. I'm not a horse girly, but I really like the incorporation of the different sky tones in the stickers and the different horses, because that gives something else to the theme. I also really like the snake around the girl on the center because, 2025 was the year of the snake, so this sticker is representing the transition between these 2 years. And then for the title, I decided to use the ones that Heda made for the silicone stamps, and I'm coloring in with an acrylic marker in purple to match the color palette. It's not very big, but I also didn't want it to bring too much attention, so this size was perfect. Moving on to the left page, here is where I usually put the book or manga covers that I read in that month, and in January I covered the whole page in a collage, and then I put the covers in the middle. And when I finished that, I confessed that I wasn't a fan, but then I was seeing it more and more because I posted photos on my Instagram and it kinda grew on me. I really liked the difference between the two pages on the same spread. The right one has just a collage on the center and negative space around it, and the left page is totally covered, so I really like that contrast. And that's why, after saying that I didn't love how the January one turned out, I decided to do it again, and honestly, I don't regret it one bit. For the title for this page, I decided to use other Ikigai Papier stickers. These ones also came in the Advent calendar, and the sticker sheet has a gradient from yellow to purple, so each individual sticker has that color variation, which I think looks very good with the rest of the collage. So for what I read this month, let's start with the books. I read Terror at the Gates by Scarlett Sinclair, and I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Hidden Truths by Niva Altaj, which I gave 4.5 stars. And finally Bloody Heart by Sophie Lark, which I gave 3 stars. Then for my Mangás/Manhwas, I read The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation Part 3 of the comic, and of course I gave it 5 stars. Amon, which I gave 4 stars. Love Beneath a Blue Tide, which I gave 3.5 stars. Anxious Inspector I gave 3.5 stars as well. The Sacred Serpent Seduction I gave 4.5 stars. Cupid in the Rainbow Trap I gave 5 stars. And lastly, Safe Partner, which I gave 4 stars. Then I also read Good Hunter and Bad Prey, but I didn't like it and I didn't give a page for it. After I put the little tab on the side for the second month of the year, let's move on to the first book review that's going to be for Terror at the Gates. This was a book that I didn't know was part of a series, trilogy, I don't really know what's going to be. I thought it was a standalone, but it was not. The second book comes out in October, I think. And before I talk about it, let me just tell you about the spread. So this little column that I printed is actually part of the book. Every first page of each chapter has one of these, and I love it, so I decided to also put it on the page. So in this story, we follow Lilith Leviathan. She's estranged from her powerful family, and she finds refuge in Nineveh, a district in the city of Eden devoted to sin. Eden has all these different districts, I think 7 if I'm not mistaken, and each one answers to a common god, so the church pretty much rules Eden. And in this world, some women have powers like Lilith, but they have to remain silent and obey the man. The thing is, Lilith doesn't want that, so she seeks refuge in Nineveh, which is ruled by her friend Zahariev. She has to stick for herself, so she uses her powers to steal. But when Lilith comes into possession of a beautiful blade, she thinks all her worries are over, until her usual buyer dies while inspecting it. And she discovers that there's more to this beautiful blade, much more than what she bargained for. I'm not a romantasy fan, as you might know, and I confess that I was a little bored in the beginning, but after a few chapters things began to pick up pace and the plot was thickening. It was so interesting and I loved all the twists and turns, especially at the end, because that was a damn cliffhanger. I also loved Zahariev. He's a goddamn green forest, especially for Lilith. He has a soft spot for her, and I loved their relationship. It's friends to lovers, so not my go-to trope, but I really liked this one. And Lilith was very straightforward. She's like, I want you, I'm going to get you, so go girl. This was actually a very good book to get into romantasy again, because most romantasy books, at least ones that I see go viral online, are more in this fantasy, really back in time world, and I like more modern worlds. So this one was a good merge of that. Also, if you are very devoted to church, maybe this might not be for you. I mean, it has very dark themes about it, and I'm not religious, so I don't care, but you might care, so read at your own accord. Moving on to the next book with a sleeve full of cat hair, let's talk about Hidden Truths. This is the third book of the Perfectly Imperfect series. I didn't really vibe with the first, but I loved the second, and honestly, I also loved this one. This story follows Angelina. She's the daughter of an Italian mafia boss, and he was murdered by another man that was set on getting the business, but it also wants Angelina. So she needs to escape as soon as possible, because if he doesn't break her, he will do everything to kill her. And that's why, with her grandma's help, she runs. And she hides on the mafia truck that has the States as destination. There's only one option, leaving and getting help from an American ally. But when the truck is intercepted by the Russian mafia, she's rescued by Sergei, a killing machine with many demons. But as soon as he takes a look at broken and injured Angelina, his demons get quiet, and his protective instinct kicks in. Now Angelina is trapped with Sergei, but maybe she doesn't want to leave. Guys, you know I'm a sucker for a mafia romance, and this story was so good. I really liked that this wasn't a marriage of convenience or a kidnapping, because those are the most common tropes on the mafia romance genre, and I think this one was so fun. Their relationship was so cute and the plot was very interesting, so give this series a chance if you like mafia romance. Now, continuing on to the next review, this is For Bloody Heart. This is the fourth book of the Brutal Birthright series, and I loved the previous three books, but this one was not my cup of tea. This story follows Simone Solomon and Dante Gallo. Simone was raised to wealth, privilege, and above all, obedience. So the last thing she expects is to be accidentally abducted by a man while she was crying in the back of her limousine, dreading to go into another tedious gala. And Dante isn't exactly expecting to find her hiding in the back of a limousine while he's trying to get away. But things happen for a reason, and after he lays eyes on Simone, their attraction is irresistible, even if they're completely wrong for each other. But they are both willing to sacrifice everything for each other until a fateful night breaks everything apart. So this book has both a second chance trope and also, spoiler, skip 10 seconds if you don't want to hear it, a pregnancy trope. So as a second chance trope, this book had potential, but as the other trope, I didn't like it. I didn't like Simone's decisions. I understand them, but I don't like them at all. I hated Simone's parents. I get their point of view when Simone was 18 years old and getting into a relationship with a mafia man, because, that actually makes sense for them to be against it. But later on, I can't really get them. And I'm not talking about the main character's relationship. I'm talking about another entire issue. Dante was actually the only thing that kept me going for this book. I was more interested in the mafia plot than actually in their relationship. And now let's start the manga/manhwas part of the video. And first we have The Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, the third comic book of the collection. I talked about this before, and it's hard talking about a continuation of a series without spoilers, so I'll just give you the overview of the story. Wei Wuxian, the one with black hair, was once one of the most outstanding men of his generation, a talented and clever young cultivator who harnessed martial arts, knowledge, and spirituality into powerful abilities. But when the horrors of war led him to seek a new power through demonic cultivation, the world's respect for his skills turned to fear, and his eventual death was celebrated throughout the land. Years later, he awakens in the body of an aggrieved young man who sacrifices his soul so that Wei Wuxian can exact revenge on his behalf. Though granted a second life, Wei Wuxian is not free from his first, nor the mysteries that appear before him now. Yet this time he'll face it all with the righteous and esteemed Lan Wanjin, the one on the bottom, at his side. Another powerful cultivator whose unwavering dedication and shared memories of their past will help shine a light on the dark truths that surround them. If you are interested in the story but you don't want to read it, you can watch the Donghua, which is basically an anime but Chinese. I highly recommend it. The story from beginning to end is just amazing. For the collage, I always try to put together some of my favorite scenes from the volume that I read. In this case is the third one as the main focus, and then I just put little ones that just made me laugh or are just important for me for another reason. I put my piece rating system on the page just for consistency, because I will always give 5 stars for this story. It's literally my favorite thing in the world. Okay, now moving on, we have Amon Unrelatable. So, Oswald Quinton, heir to a powerful military company, is well known for his successful career, but also for his brutal personality, a result of his troubled childhood. As Oswald discovers the significance of Amon, a mineral crucial for his company's survival, he ventures to strike a deal with the landowner who possesses the land containing the vital resource. Initially resistant to selling, the landowner finally agrees under one condition. Oswald must help the landowner's daughter, Yao Dan-hee, rediscover the joys of life. Dan-hee, scarred by her failed marriage, has lost her ability to love. So, as their paths converge, how will their relationship evolve? This one was so much darker than I anticipated. I was very surprised in a good way because the story was so much more emotional than I expected, and honestly, it fit the vibe. I really felt for Dan-hee and also Oswald, and it had a villain that I hated with all my entire soul. I was so mad because I just wanted to get into the story and get a little violent with this character. It was not my favorite in general, but it really pulled at my heartstrings because I literally cried reading this, which doesn't happen a lot with manhwas. I really liked the font of the title, so I tried to copy it into a little piece of sticker paper, and to just do something different I drew it with a silver pen. In the end, I gave it 3.7 stars, which I rounded to 4. On the left page now we have Love Beneath a Blue Tide, or also Mermaid Master's Diary, which is another title for this manhwa. Lionel, the blondie, raised in a violent and suffocating home, finds his first real affection when he meets Arthur, an immortal merman living in human form within an old castle, which of course it's a secret. But Lionel's family is obsessed with a legend that promises eternal life through the body of a merman, and they set their sights on Arthur. Torn between love and the chains of his family, Lionel must decide whom he will protect. Well, this one was a bit weird with the whole merman thing. I expected something different than what I read. It wasn't bad, but I think it had potential for more. I understood Lionel's decisions, of course, after what he'd been through during his childhood, but I think the final part was a little anticlimactic. I was expecting a lot more of a fight, not fight in a physical way, but more push and pull, because honestly, Arthur's motives were a bit weird. They started kind of toxic, and then, well, it was weird overall. I don't really know how to explain it. The art was beautiful, so that's a plus, but I'm sure I'm not going to read this again. So in the end I gave it 3.6 stars, which was honestly just because of the originality with the plot and the art, because it was really pretty. Okay, next we have Anxious Inspector, or also Hands Up Your Mind. This story follows Jo Yoon, a divorcee for 20 years, and she wants to spend Christmas Eve with her daughter, who is now an adult, but she refuses. After that, even her colleagues refuse to spend it with her. In an impulse, she ends up drinking outside the convenience store by her house. And then, by chance, she runs into her daughter's friend from high school, Shi-woon, and mindlessly invites him to her house. What Jo-yoon doesn't know is that Shi-woo has been in love with her since she took care of him as a trainee in the police department where she is an inspector. Well, this has all the ingredients to make a terrible recipe, and it was quite the challenge. I actually ended up liking the second couple a lot more, which is Jo-yoon's daughter with a friend of hers, but it's more rivals to lovers, and I really wanted to read more about their story. For the main couple, it was fine, not mind blown, and honestly, the age gap doesn't really bother me. It was just the plot. It didn't do it for me, but it wasn't bad, it was just okay. Also, I didn't really like Shi-woo's appearance. His eyes were kinda weird, they were lacking light, so it made him look like a psychopath, and I wasn't really vibing with it. So, because this manhwa wasn't really the best in terms of story and characters for me, I gave it 3.4 stars. Moving on, we have the Sacred Serpent Seduction. With his grandfather bordering life and death, Tai-sun, the brunette, takes on multiple jobs in order to pay a seemingly endless stack of hospital bills. On one of his odd jobs, he ascends the great mountain Gyeomryang, not knowing it is the home of an eponymous serpentine spirit. When Tai-sun encounters the divine being, he too is on the brink of death, desperate for water in his slithering form. So Tai-sun offers him a sip of water and saves the sacred snake from certain death. Later that night, a cold-blooded body embraces Tai-sun and offers him an exchange. Bear the ancient being's seed and his grandfather will live. Now, when we talk about seed, yes, it's a child, so that means he has to get pregnant. And honestly, I read many Omegaverse manhwas before to not be fazed by that, and actually I loved this story. I laughed, I cried, it made me feel something. The story was sad, but at the same time it was really beautiful because of the message behind it. This wasn't an instant love, it was building with a story, which I really enjoyed. I loved both characters, they were both down to earth and really likable in terms of personality. Overall, if you don't mind the whole bear my seed part of the plot, I highly recommend this manhwa. It was kind of funny that the collage that I made for my favorite manhwa of the month was my least favorite. I had a vision and it didn't translate it well to paper, but it's okay. The main things that I wanted to incorporate are there, like the house, the trees to represent the mountain, and the snakes. Blue ones because I don't have that many snakes in my stationery stash. After I wrote the title in the same font of the manhwa, I made my star rating and it ended up being a 4.6 stars. Let's continue on to the next manhwa, which is Cupid in the Rainbow Trap. In the office, Tae-jeon, the brunette, reigns supreme as the Cupid of sales, renowned for successfully pairing colleagues thanks to his ability to see the color of people's auras and matching them to each other. Unfortunately, he himself has been single his entire life because he can't see his own aura. But everything changes when he drunkenly kisses the new recruit, Hong-yeon, which leads to a sizzling night at a motel. And then Tae-jun discovers something fascinating. Hong-yeon's aura is a mesmerizing rainbow, something he never seen before. As Hong-yeon boldly pursues him, Tae-jun's shyness clashes with their steamy connection. Now they must navigate a somewhat clumsy and spicy office romance, where colors will fly in more ways than one. This was such a fun and entertaining read. The story wasn't actually that original. I read stories with a similar plot before, but this one was so good. I had a good time reading it, I liked both characters, and even though the plot was nothing unique, sometimes you just want to have fun and enjoy the story. This was a light read, nothing too dark, it's quite steamy as the summary says, and I highly recommend it, especially if you like office romance. I actually ended up giving this one a higher rating in my rating system than the Sacred Serpent Seduction, so I guess both were my favorite this month. And next we have the final manhwa and final collage of this setup, and it is for Safe Partner. Aki-eun, the one with the blue eyes, went to a bar to find a one-night stand to satisfy his craving for Jang Yoon-soo, the guy who he's been crushing on ever since the first day he joined the company, and also he's his boss. But suddenly he runs into Yoo-soo himself at the same place. So, not wanting to be seen by his boss at a gay bar, he tries to hide himself. But he's not very successful because Yoon-soo sees him and actually makes him a proposal that he can't refuse. This one is another story made by the same author as the previous manhwa, Cupid in the Rainbow Trap, and oh boy, this was a roller coaster, full of twists and turns and feelings all over the place. It wasn't as light as the Cupid one, but it had the same vibe with the whole office romance plot, but this time it's a secretary with the boss trope, which never gets old. I really liked this one as well. It wasn't unique because I read plenty of stories like this before, but it's a cliche for a reason. It's because it's enjoyable time and time again. So if you want to read any office romances in the future, you have here 2 recommendations. And now it's time for the final flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, give a like, subscribe, and leave a horse emoji in the comments to let me know you watched it till the end. This was a very interesting month with good reads and okay kinda meh reads, but it's just the way it is. Sometimes you don't have an excellent reading month. I'm not that harsh with my ratings, even though I'm more critical of the books I read, since I've been using the pitch rating system, and I should be more critical. And it's been fun using my own rating system for my mangas and manhwas, which I'm not that particular about. One thing that I like about doing a reading journal is, first, using stationery because I love doing collages and using stickers and tapes, and second is writing, even just a little bit about my thoughts of the books, so that I can actually think more about the story after I read it, even if I didn't enjoy it. Which is part of the process, and it's also fun doing special themes for each book because if I love the book, I want to live in it a little bit more, and doing a collage or decorating a page with stickers or tapes that remind me of something in the book is a good way to do it. I also read plenty of manhwas this month, which I wasn't expecting, but it's always good. And that's it for this video. I hope you have a lovely day or night wherever you are. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!